We will get the meeting started now that we have a quorum here. Welcome to the July 13th meeting of HEDRA. We do have a quorum, item number 1. Item number 2 are the minutes from the June 1st meeting. Any questions or comments or revisions? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor of accepting the minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? And the minutes have been accepted. Item number 3, we have the bills. Any
Sure.
questions for John?
Yeah, probably the one that sticks out here is Fratalone Company's payment for most of their exterior soil work at the Hudson site for $163,000. So that's the big bill coming out from that. The rest of them are shovel-ready certification. That's dealing with surveying in order to prepare ourselves to be shovel-ready certified for sale of property, marketing of property within the industrial park itself.
All right, very good. Any questions or comments? Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor of accepting the bills, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? And the bills are accepted. On to item number 4, business. We have item A, the review of the Great River Landing Plan modifications. It looks like we have a presentation here this evening.
Thank you, Mr. President and HEDRA Commissioners. And thanks again for your participation the other night at the workshop that we had with the City Council with the Great River Landing site. Tonight, what we'd like to be able to do is to present to you kind of an update of some of the activities that are going on at the Great River Landing Hudson manufacturing site. In particular, the reason we're coming before you is some of the changes that are being proposed by the developer are going to need amendments to our existing grant applications from Metropolitan Council, in particular for the parking ramp area and for the landscape plan themselves. So on Tuesday, we wanted to be able to present some of these changes to you in person, be able to answer some questions that you and the council may have, and then tonight at HEDRA, and then following up at council on the July 24th meeting, we would be asking for your consideration to move the application amendment forward, to amend the application so that, or amend the grant agreement, excuse me, so that the uses that are being proposed here would move forward. So tonight, Mariah Gratz of Confluence Development was here with us, along with Pat Regan, Mike Mattingly, Harrison Wagonsale, and a whole contingent of people from the development team. So I think Mariah is going to start it off here with a small presentation, and then we can answer any questions from that standpoint. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thanks for having us. And it was a pleasure to meet most of you on Tuesday. Again, I'm Mariah Gratz with Wayland Ventures. We're an urban real estate development company out of Louisville, Kentucky. And with Pat Regan, I'm part of the development team for the Great Rivers Landing site. As you probably remember, but just to recap, when we originally got this project approved, I believe back in 2015, this is actually our new site plan, but there was a proposal to build a parking ramp on the, is there a pointer or anything around here? Anyways, there was a proposal to build a parking ramp on the parking lot to the side of the main building. Ooh. I did two things at once there. No? Maybe I can just use, there we go. There was a proposal to build a parking ramp right along the site. In addition, there was a grant to build the parks that are encompassing around the building. And then the original use of the building, we were going to do predominantly apartments with event space, restaurants, and some retail space as well. What has happened since then, when we made our presentation to the State Historic Preservation Officer last year, and one of the main financing requirements for this project is that we are able to receive federal and state historic tax credits. Her feedback was that she was not going to allow the parking ramp on that site due to it affecting the view of the historic building. And she was also adamant about a few pretty major building issues, including that the exterior walls all be maintained as without any insulation. And due to those things, we had basically went back to the drawing board, because doing apartments on a river in Hastings, Minnesota, we didn't feel that we could do those apartments justice and have them really be the quality that we wanted them to be if there was no insulation in the exterior walls. That might work further south. I don't think that works here. So that's why you've kind of been radio silence for a little while. We went back to the drawing board, and our proposal now to you all tonight has three main components. One, we are proposing to move the parking ramp covered by the grant to provide 99 public use parking spaces to the First National Bank site right across the street. This will be maintained as a surface parking lot that will service what is now going to be about a 65-room boutique hotel. In addition to being about 20 apartments, we are still maintaining the event space and the restaurant space and the retail space as well. We also, based on the SHPO's request, redesigned this park. She wanted a much more industrial feel to the park. I think she had been looking at kind of the Pillsbury Park along the river in Minneapolis as her inspiration, so we went back and tried to create a more industrial feeling park for that reason. So as we go through our presentation, this is a floor plan of the bank site. So essentially you'll have a lower level parking area on grade, basically where the First National Bank building currently sits. That will be torn down. And then as you go up, you're going to have an upper level parking pad that is half on the existing kind of parking, surface parking that is already up above the bank site, and then kind of extending out to the street. So as you look at that, you'll see half of the upper level is actually on grade. It's just a higher grade, and then the front half of it will be an elevated parking ramp. So the elevation ends up looking like this. It won't be a whole lot different from what you see now with the First National Bank site there, kind of the same scale as what's currently there. So then as we move in, we wanted to give you all a few renderings of how we've redesigned these parks. This is the park we foresee on the side of the building towards the bridge. So I apologize, there should be a bridge in the background. I'm going to work with the designers on having that incorporated. It's just not a straightforward thing to build in Revit, apparently. But you can see this side of the park we want to be very activated. We want it to be part of the restaurant concept that will be on the first floor, where people can gather. You can have a beer, you can have a bite to eat, you can stop while you're walking up and down the river walk. We want it to be a very active, programmed place where people can really enjoy themselves and have some of those kind of fun things going on, lawn chairs, all of that kind of stuff. This is another shot of that park kind of looking back towards the building. And I've got some inspiration photos at the end that'll kind of see what we're thinking once it's activated. This is the other side of the park looking back towards the building. So if you go out to the site right now, which several of you have, you'll notice there are quite a few large caissons that are down by the river where the 1974 edition of the building was torn down. I think John fondly referred to it as the Stonehenge of Hastings. So our concept is to maintain some of those caissons and basically use them as a foundation for an overlook deck. So that's what you see. So this was looking back towards the building with that overlook deck on the caissons that should give the industrial feel that everybody is looking for, or at least the SHPO is looking for in order to continue moving this project forward. And finally, as I said, these are kind of our inspirations for that active side of the park as far as, perhaps a shipping container bar and twinkle lights and Adirondack chairs and a place where people can really kind of hang out and have some fun. So I believe that's the end of my presentation. So if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yes, Mark.
I get a few. Thank you. Thanks for coming in again. One of my colleagues had asked me when we were taking a tour the other day on the parking ramp, someday, hopefully it's going to be so successful, is there a chance that that lower part of that parking lot could be turned into more rental retail spaces, and the parking ramp has the opportunity to either expand up, or I would say over to the west to replace those parking spots underneath?
Yes, the answer is I think that is a possibility. The way the parking ramp is designed, you could put storefront in, you can always add mechanical systems, you can do a lot of those things in the future. As far as the ability to build on top of the ramp, that's something that we have discussed, and the only issue with that is making sure that we take that into account in the structure ahead of time. So it is something we will continue to consider as we move forward. So.
Thank you. I just think it's a long-term vision, but and it may be maybe too expensive. I don't know what it would cost, but I think if the structure was built, I just didn't know if the space was available even to the west or even to the north to make, or I'm sorry, it'd be the south, to make the extra spaces if we lose those parking spots to shop someday. So that was my other question about that.
Yeah, I think we'd have to look at where that space was available. I can't speak of that off the top of my head, but
Okay.
I think there are definitely ways to look at different options if that fortunate timing and those fortunate circumstances occur.
And one more question about your idea on the park side that you guys are designing or redesigning. I envision it starting to be probably fairly busy over there, which is a good thing, especially with the deck that you're planning. Do you think there'll be any kind of development inside your building that's going to service that area? Let's say it turns into a music-type festival or space. Will your building on the inside have the option to open up and serve the public on that side? I'm just looking so we're not having to do special use permits and bring in a food vendor or whatever it is where we have to go through a lot of extra work when maybe you have it already that can service that park without coming to apply for a permit. I would
Yes,
say.
that is something we're definitely going to make sure that we have built into the building. So
Okay.
for the event space on the second floor, we have a warming kitchen planned. We're also looking at what you could put in the basement to make sure that it's easy to serve food and beverages out onto the park as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
I want to thank you and Pat Regan and for all the changes you made to make this possible. I do have one question about the approved parking plan and the proposed parking lot. I thought I heard the other night that underneath the 1974 edition where the 20 units of housing will be, there will be 20 units of underground parking on site there?
There are going to be 15 parking spots
Okay.
on the first floor of that
So-
basement of the 1946 wing.
So that, with the 94 parking spots all on surface, would there be another 15 added to that? And so we actually are 228 spots versus 226 on the original plan. So you still have adequately just moved them around.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? Thank you for a wonderful presentation, Mariah.
Thank you for your time.
Yes. On to item B, approved change.
Do we need to make the motion?
Yeah, if you could make a motion in support of the changes make a motion in support of amending the LCDA applications in support of the changes.
All right.
I'll move that.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor of approving this change?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the changes have been accepted.
All
Thank
right.
you, John.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, now on to item B, approve change order number 1 and authorize the payment for the Hudson exterior soil removal with Fratellone.
Sure. We have before us is a request for a $30,000 change order for the removal of exterior soils at the Hudson site. The reason why this change order is coming before you is during the excavation of soils, we found other areas of contaminated soils that were not originally identified on the bid specification. So with Fratellone being on site, we made the decision to expand their contract to cover those soils. And so the cost of that would be the $30,000 figure that's quoted here tonight. So the $30,000 figure would amend the total cost of that portion of the contract to about $202,000. All of those expenses would be paid for from existing grant funding. So we're asking for a recommendation or an action to approve the change order tonight to authorize, and also to authorize payment of that $30,000.
Very good. Are there any questions or comments regarding this? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the change order as presented and authorize payment.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And the motion carries. On to item C, authorized payment request number 1 for the interior soil removal with Ram Excavating.
So we move from the outside to the inside here. This is the vacuuming of the interior soils, removal of some of the bricks that were found within the crawl space areas of the Hudson building. So the authorization payment amount is about $143,000 to Ram Excavating. This is for activities completed during June. So they're a little over halfway done with their contract. The total contract amount was about $230,000. What we're asking for tonight is that you authorize the payment request on one condition. In reviewing some of the quantity sheet information, we were asking for some additional information for record-keeping purposes. Wouldn't change the quantities at all, but just having some more detail on that before we would actually authorize payment. So what we're asking for you tonight is to authorize payment number 1 with the condition that they submit revised quantity sheets.
All right, thank you, John. Are there any questions or comments? Yes.
Quick question for staff. John, who's is it you, or who gets to go in there saying, you're good, you got it all, or you need to keep taking some more?
Sure. We have Stantec Consulting hired as our environmental consultant, so they will have somebody on site there to make those determinations.
And ultimately, are they sending a report up to whom? So we make sure it's done.
Sure. We'll give the pay request to them to make sure that those are matching what the truckloads and what they're taking out, so that we check the pay request that way. And then we also have environmental sheets that are necessary to truck out to our environmental landfill, so we compare those notes.
So the state of Minnesota is coming down or taking that report, saying, okay, you got everything that we've seen, or who's making that determination that we're not
I
gonna
understand now,
have
sure.
some more down there someday?
Understood, yeah. So these information reports are then presented to MPCA, so that they have that information, so that they can ensure that the reporting that we've presented with our status of certification for environmental cleanup of the site is as presented.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good. Are there any additional questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the payment as presented with the additional detailed information as requested by staff.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Very good. All those in favor of this payment request number 1, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And the motion carries. All right, on to item D. Authorize the signature for legal services with Campbell Knutson.
Thank you. As you may recall, we had a retirement of our longtime HEDRA HRA attorney, Bob Dykey, last year. In the interim, we've been contemplating how to best provide legal services for HEDRA. What we came to an agreement with is to have City Attorney Dan Fliegel continue to be the lead on providing legal assistance on routine matters for HEDRA under the General Hastings service contract that he has presently. But we also want to identify someone who had specialized knowledge and experience on legal matters that we come to from time to time, such as our TIF agreements and some of our subsidy agreements. Dan had recommended Andrea McDowell-Paler of the Campbell Knutson firm to serve those needs. We took a look at her resume and her experiences, and we concur with the recommendation. So what we're asking for tonight is to authorize signature of a legal services contract with Campbell Knutson for Ms. McDowell-Paler, and this would be for a 3-year period. I can stand for any questions.
Very good. Thank you, John. Any questions or comments for John this evening?
Motion to approve.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Very good. All those in favor of authorizing the signature for legal services with Campbell Knutson, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? And the motion carries. On to item E. Approve the preliminary land credit sale and concept plan with Lightborn LLC.
Thank you. Lightborn LLC has submitted a land credit application and request to purchase Lot 9, Block 2, which is a 1.36 acre lot in the industrial park located at 2950 Lightborn Court. They're looking to construct a 10,500 square foot building to house a CrossFit gym. And they will also have a staging, rental, and trucking facility within there as well. A special use permit for operation of the fitness center was approved by the City Council on June 5th. The tenants of the building will be CrossFit and Solid Staging and Trucking. CrossFit is a fitness company focused on providing core strength and conditioning programs to its members. They've been in business for 4 years, and they're currently located in Hastings at 2911 Enterprise Avenue. They're looking to expand their footprint and member base with this. And Solid Staging and Trucking specializes in general freight for production companies. They provide rentals of lighting equipment and concerts, and they are also looking to expand in order to meet inventory demand and market demand in the industry. So what we're looking for tonight is just a recommendation for approval to move forward. And final action will be presented at the July 24th City Council meeting.
Very good. Thank you, Morgan.
So as a reminder of some of these land credit land sales within the industrial park, we haven't had one for quite some time here, and they may have predated a lot of the members that have been here. What we're looking for is we have a land subsidy program, the Land for a Dollar program, and Morgan's gone through an analysis here of the land credits that have been, that would be calculated for this. So we estimate that the majority of the price for the land will be covered under land credit. There may be some cash due at the end of that 5-year period time. And then we're also looking at a concept plan review of the building and site itself here. So within the packet we have the building itself, site plan, layout, and so forth. Taking a look at that, it appears to meet the requirements that we would have. I think they're going to be going through Planning Commission application for the site plan here shortly for the project. So what we're looking at tonight is the land credit application itself. The land credit would be that land for a dollar. Is this something that we should be subsidizing tonight under those terms? Does the plan itself, the concept plan for development, do you have any comments on that? Would that meet your needs for the park itself? And so those are the actions we would be asking for your direction on. And then as Morgan stated, after this, if we get approval on this tonight from HEDRA, we would work with the actual documents to transfer the land and the land subsidy agreement, and also work with them on the site plan application for approval of the site.
Very good. Thank you, John and Morgan. Any questions for either of them? Yes, Mark.
I have a question about one of the land credit requirements. It says part of it is they're supposed to create 4 new jobs at no less than $13 per hour for 5 years. If CrossFit is currently in business, just starting in a different location, is part of the 4 new jobs coming from the other company that's called Solid Staging and Trucking, or is CrossFit adding 4 more jobs?
So it would be from both. So both tenants of the building would be creating those 4 jobs.
4 jobs.
At least the 4 jobs.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Yes.
I've been around long enough to have the other land credits in my memory. My only question is about solid stagings and trucking. We have had a hesitancy in the past to have a lot of storage of trucks on site. That wasn't something we wanted to encourage with the land credit business. Will there be a large amount of trucking stored on site, or is it mainly parking for the CrossFit customers and for the employees of Solid Staging and Trucking that work in the office?
Jeff, would you be able to address that a little bit?
Yeah, it's mainly parking for the CrossFit customers. Chad, the owner of Solid Staging, intends to park their semi-truck and trailer inside the unit. He would like to have an option to park
future area where you show a future building possible expanding, but in that area,
On
okay.
one side there.
The west
So
side.
it wouldn't be anything where we'd be parking all kinds of semi trucks out there. Primarily, the uses for the CrossFit.
Okay. That answers my questions, that's fine.
Very good, thank you. Are there any additional questions or comments? All right, I will entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the preliminary plan credit sale and concept.
Very good, is there a second?
I will second it.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And this land credit sale has been approved.
Thank you.
On to item number 5, reports and information. A, we had the Vermillion Corridor Plan.
Thank you. So we had the Vermillion Street Coalition kickoff meeting on June 26th. We had a good discussion. We have a 14-member coalition right now. We discussed issues and concerns among the corridor, some specific projects or actions that the coalition members would like to see, and then the primary strengths and assets of the corridor. So like I said, we had great input and good ideas, and the group seems very excited to move forward in the process, as I know everyone else is. Our next meeting, which will be the beginning of September, will include a business and community workshop. And then along with that, the consultants, Jose Levine, will be doing key person interviews. So we're just asking if you have anybody who you think would be great for a key person interview, just let me know and we can get them on the list. It can be individuals, groups, organizations, anybody that you think that could provide valuable insight to the project. We also did hear some concern of the makeup of the coalition. There is primarily business owners. So if there's individuals that you think are interested in joining the coalition that are residents, whether on or off the corridor, we'd be happy to speak with them as well. So you can forward those names to us. The website link is active, and so that is up. And if you visit it, it's pretty user-friendly. I've gone in and looked at the questionnaires for both the business and the resident. I've kind of played with the mapping tool a little bit. And then there'll be updates posted on there as well. So the website link, I emailed it out, and then it's also on our website too under the Vermillion Street Corridor Plan. It's right up there. And one more update, we'll also be in a booth with the comprehensive plan at Rivertown Days next weekend as well. So we'll have surveys and information out there too. So.
Very good, thank you. Are there any questions or comments regarding the Vermillion Corridor Plan? Yes.
Please, I got one quick question, Morgan. Will the consultant or will staff be reaching out to, some of the businesses around town don't own the buildings. They may be owned by somebody that doesn't even live in the community. Will we be reaching out to that ownership group? I just want to clarify, this isn't a publicly financed project here, so we're really trying to energize the private sector to be involved, and I just think there's a difference between somebody that rents the building versus somebody that owns it, and with that energy to go.
Correct. And I know, if it's near or part of areas that are looking at like specific redevelopment, reaching out to the owners is where we need to go. But if you know business owners or know of properties that you think we should specifically look at and reach out to, that's great information to share as well.
And I just want to clarify, have we made that reach out yet for somebody that owns the building that doesn't live in Hastings? Have we sent them a postcard or a message saying, FY, this is going on, and it's going to affect you or could potentially affect you?
We did send a letter out, but I guess I can't confirm if they went to out-of-state owners.
Yeah, when we, in preparation for the planning here, and we sent a notification card out to all the business property owners up and down the corridor themselves, so either whether they were in Hastings or
Got it.
outside of Hastings, so we've
Okay.
done that initial outreach.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Are there any additional questions? All right, very good. On to item B, the ULI visit.
All right, so the ULI workshop is scheduled for next week, July 19th from 6:30 to 8:30. The panelists include Tony Schertler of Dakota County CDA, Bill Beard of the Beard Group, Julie Kimball of Kimball Consulting, and Danielle Pierquet of Landform Professional Services. So they're prepared for the workshop to give us some insight on what the market's doing and then what the market specifically looks like in Hastings as well. So I'm excited for this workshop and look forward to hearing what they have to say.
Very good. Any questions or comments? Excellent. On to item C, the Hudson Development Plan.
Sure, well, gone through a few of these updates already tonight, but I'll go through a couple more here. Interior soil and debris removal continues to move forward on the site. I think as it's been noted in the past, it's been a little more complex, involving areas and bricks of a 1909 fire that we did not anticipate to be there. So that continues to be, So that continues to be moving forward on the site there. They should be done with the work within this next week or so, I think by Saturday, they said. We also hosted a Facebook Live video down there with the help of Lee Stoffel, our communications coordinator, so we got some further outreach there, so that was helpful as well. The next stage of that, and I should say the final stage of our environmental remediation, at least our responsibility, will be the vapor intrusion mitigation system installation. Again, this is a system that vents off soil vapors actively through a fan HVA system from the floor out the roof. And we went out for bid on that. We had some initial questions that came up by potential bidders on the complexity of doing this installation within these crawl space areas, mainly due to the unevenness of the ground, the dirt that's there. So we issued an amendment to that original bid to better address those, and the way that we're bidding it out right now is we're going to have them provide what's called a performance-based bid. We're going to be able to set some specific parameters on the environmental output that we need for the system and leave it up to them to provide their best installation method to do this. What we were being told originally was, yeah, we can do this per your original specifications, but it's going to really be costly. So we're hoping we'll provide some cost savings with that. With that delay in the bidding with the amendment, we are pushing that back a little bit right now. We're going to be having a pre-bid for that meeting coming up on July 18th, with bids due on July 28th. We'll get those authorized soon after that, with the work being done in August into September. So we will be working on that. That is the last environmental remediation responsibility that the city would have. We would still have grant funds available that we would keep in hand for assistance after the transfer of the building, but that would be the last active responsibility we would have there. And that's probably the most substantive item that we have not yet discussed relating to the Hudson building. Everything else is moving along with that, so I can stand for any questions.
That's great news. Any questions or comments? Yes, Ron.
John, after approval by city council, hopefully on the 24th, what do you kind of envision the reaction time for SHPO and the Met Council for their kind of okay, the change is okay with us too?
Sure. With SHPO at this point, that's likely to come after transfer of the property. With Metropolitan Council, I've intimated a little bit the amendments that we're proposing tonight. Once we get the approval from the council, we'll submit that formally, but I still haven't gotten a clear determination from them as to what the procedure they're going to use, whether it's going to be just a staff review or whether it needs to go a little bit further on that. So still working on that end of things.
Any additional questions? Very good. On to item number D, the commercial real estate report.
Yeah, I got the CBRE Commercial Real Estate Report for the last month showing 4 or 5 new activities that were being conducted by Brian Pankratz related to the site itself. Seems that there's some renewed interest, especially within the industrial park. We've seen that in the last few weeks to months, so hopefully we'll be bringing back more applications like we have tonight in the near future. That would be great. And then moving on to commercial vacancy here, we have gone down a couple of vacancies. Fireside Social House being open in the former RJ's building is something I think everyone's been looking forward to. It looks like the reports that I've heard from that is good. Olive Dog Grooming has opened up at 1030 North Frontage Road, And we did find out that Sears is closing their store down at County Crossroads and West 33rd Street. As far as some of the other development activity going around town, we had an offer to sell property located at Highway 55 and Pleasant Drive. The city has owned a property there since the 1970s. It's about a .65 acre site. It's located on the west side of Pleasant Drive between Highway 55 and North Frontage Road. We're approached by an entity that sought to purchase the building for a medical office facility. And so we had a planning committee meeting on that on Monday that was received favorably by the committee. And so we're working with that development group. Their next step would be provide a letter of intent, and then we would take that up with the city council. So we may see some further development on the Highway 55 corridor, which is great. And then we had a small addition approval for Semstone for their project. And then Art Space Hastings Loft, I was able to tour the site about a week or two ago to see what's going on there. And as you can see from some of the pictures in the report, they're coming down to the end here. They're starting the rehab of, or putting the finishing touches on some of the interior unit and some of the rooftop information. So that site is coming along. And I think that's all that I had.
I have one question regarding the
Mhm.
vacancy of the art space. How are they doing with that?
I haven't heard, I've heard that the leasing is going well as expected on that one, so I haven't heard any difficulties on that.
Very good. All right, any other questions or comments? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Is there a second? Thank you, Mark. All those in favor of adjourning this evening, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? We are officially closed for business.
Thank you.